Welcome to Waste Not Wednesday with the Southern Alleghenies Museum of Art. This week we're going to go with dress-up clothes as our theme. When I was a child, I remember digging through my mom's old dresses and wearing her old shoes and wrapping blankets around myself and making dress-up clothes out of just about anything. So this is a way to create some extra accessories to just put a little more fun into your kids' dress-up clothes bin. The goal of this series is to use supplies that you already have at home. So hopefully these are all ideas that you can piece together with something that you have, whether it's exactly the same supply or something similar. But the few things that I know that I just generally have in my junk drawer is some tape, a stapler, pencils. I do have some packing tape that might be helpful if I need a little bit of a heavy duty adhesive. And then in place of pencils, or basically just something that can become a handle, I do have some wooden skewers that would work. I don't know that that's as common of a supply. But then things that I've been saving up. So toilet paper tubes or a paper towel roll that can be cut. And of course, any type of thin box that is easier to cut with scissors is going to be nice to work with compared to a thicker packaging box. Though if you're really ambitious, those bigger boxes can make some pretty awesome things if you want to go large scale. And then I've been saving some tissue boxes because as a child, and if your children's feet are small enough, I definitely shoved my feet into these boxes and created some funky shoes with them. And then the last thing is an old t-shirt that you don't mind cutting up. So I did pick out one that I can draw and decorate. But if you have something that's patterned or already has something on it, that's not really a big deal. It's more about getting the form of what will be created out of the t-shirt. So just looking around the house, you'll realize that there's some things that can be used that you might not have thought of before. So I just kind of scour the house each week to see what it is that I could then piece together to become a creative art project. Because I decided to use the watercolor paint from the very first week of Waste Not Wednesday, the paint is not as vibrant on the crown as expected, but it still showed up quite well, and I was able to use some of the brushes that we also created out of found goods throughout the home. And then all this needed was a couple staples. So if you don't have a stapler, some tape would work, anything just to attach it so that it fit around the head, and then you've got yourself a crown in any decoration that you want, because you can create with markers or paint or glue things onto it. And yes, the inside is a waffle box, but who cares? We've got a crown. You have royalty in your house now. As fun as photo booths are, you have to make sure you have some fun props, and this was as easy as it could get because it was made out of a cereal box. One cereal box was all I needed besides some sort of stick. and I did have wooden skewers for shish kebabs, but you could go outside and pick sticks, you could attach them to pencils, pens, whatever you have in the house. I did cut the end off because they were rather pointy, but other than that, this was just tape, the cereal box, and a stick. And then 2 of them are painted. So we've got giant mustache or giant lips that were painted. And then these 2 were just decorated with markers. So figure out what you could create that would just be funny, maybe silly, have a theme, it's up to you, but all you need is a cereal box for that one. Now that I have gone through making the things for this week's theme, it was a lot of fun because it brought me back to when I dressed up all the time as a child. But it also gave me an opportunity to make crafts, make some art, be creative with things that I was able to find around the house that could become useful. Do they look homemade? Yes, they're not store-bought dress-up clothes, but they were fun, creative ways to alter something. The cape ended up being a 2-for-1 thing. So what I did here, let me get my little chart, is I took the t-shirt and I cut up along the sides and then around the sleeves and across the shoulders. But then I did not cut around the neckline in the back like I was working from, but I actually flipped it over and cut around the neckline just in the front. So the cape now has an entire back to it, but then the whole neckline is still intact, so it can be placed over your head. It's stretchy just like a t-shirt, but it is the shape of a cape in the back. And then what happened is what was left, because it was cut with pretty clean lines, though you may see that I struggled a bit with my scissors because none of my scissors are good for fabric anymore, is it still has the sleeves. So you can actually use it as a paint smock. So if you slide those sleeves on and wear it backwards, that's going to protect clothing for any of the art projects as you're working. So you can save the entire thing. I was actually expecting to use the other half for rags, and I didn't mind because it was an old t-shirt, but if you can use it for more than one thing, why not? And then to go with the cape, which I used a theme of hearts and bright colors, kind of like a kindness cape instead of a superhero that's already invented. Then I took the toilet paper tubes and created these cuffs that could be worn with it, so they match. So just a super simple covering of paper, making some paper embellishments on it and gluing those together, and that created an accessory for the cape. Last but not least were the shoes that I made out of tissue boxes. So my supplies were tissue boxes, leftover wrapping paper that I ripped into small pieces, the glue from one of the other weeks, and so this homemade glue has lasted for several weeks in the refrigerator. It was very separated, so once again I used the whisk, but all I had to do was apply that glue liberally, so on the actual tissue box. Make sure that it's fully wet on one side and then start sticking down the pieces of the wrapping paper so that they connect and overlap a bit, and then apply the glue a second time. Once you apply it the second time, you can see where it sticks everywhere very well, and if there's any loose ends, just kind of shove a little bit of extra glue up underneath it. The little monster claws that I made are actually made out of the shaved chalk paper that we did another week. I had considered using the shaving cream marbled paper as well, but this one matched it so well that I decided to go with the shaved chalk. And I did the same thing where I applied the glue after this was fully covered with the wrapping paper, laid the monster claws down, and then I put an extra layer of the wrapping paper over top, almost as if a band-aid was holding it down. So this just needs a few hours to dry before anybody wears them, but just another fun way to create a piece of dress-up clothing.